Welcome to the Chinese Canadian Museum podcast, The School Room. I'm your host, Melissa Lee, CEO of the museum. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're thrilled to have swimmer Walter Wu on the schoolroom. Walter is a Canadian Paralympic athlete who has competed in 4 Paralympic Games, winning a total of 14 medals for Canada, 8 gold medals, breaking records and barriers throughout his career, and even breaking barriers during that time in Canada. Welcome, Walter. Thanks so much for coming on our show.
Oh, thank you very much, Melissa. It's a pleasure.
And we're so glad to have you in our exhibition at the Museum Momentum, which just opened last week. It was so great to see you in person there. But let's start at the beginning. When did you start swimming and what drew you to swimming?
I think I started swimming just like how I think every child in Canada learns. I joined the swim club when I was 7 years old. It was just my local club. My parents were always swimmers. They always went to the pool in the morning. They saw there was a swim program there and just kind of enrolled me into that. They also enrolled me into like judo, soccer, just any activity to keep me busy and tire me out. So it made their life probably better at home. I don't remember the first couple of years of swimming. I know I joined at 7. I don't really have a lot of memories. And by the age of 10 through 12, I kind of realized at what level I was at. You win some swim meets here and there, you win some races, it gives you like some confidence. Oh, I'm pretty good at what I'm doing here. I remember at age 12, there was provincials in Victoria. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember how many medals I won, but I do know I won at least 5 races at that competition. Obviously, my parents saw what was the possible potential, and back in the day, at that time, Richmond, when I was swimming up to the age of 12, didn't have a 50-meter pool at that time. And my parents realized if I wanted to go any farther, we would have to leave our swim club in Richmond and move over to one in Vancouver. And we ended up training with the Canadian Dolphins Association in Vancouver for a couple of years. So I was 12, and my sister would have been 7 at that time, and she's a swimmer as well. And at that age, even at 7, for her age, where my sister was actually number 1 in Canada. So,
Wow. So you were both number one.
yeah, we were. But at the time when I was 12, I was only number 1 in BC. My sister actually was number 1 in Canada. Our parents were saying we had to move to a bigger club, better competition. Parents had to do a lot of sacrificing in doing that.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know all the financials, but I know my parents sacrificed a lot financially, but my parents sacrificed a lot of time in order to make that happen. So when we were swimming, swimmers swim morning and evening. So mornings would have had 3 morning practices, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Those practices would have been 6 to 7:30 before school. So we live in Richmond. We got to get to downtown Vancouver for a 6 a.m. workout, swim to 7:30. Then we have to rush back to Richmond to get back to school. I think it was like 8:20. Finish school around 2:45, and then rush back downtown. Monday through Friday, we swam 4 to 6 p.m. And then on Saturdays, we had double workouts. So we did a 6 to 7:30 and then a 9 to 11 practice. And that went on for about, I believe it was 3 years before we switched swim clubs again. So when I said sacrifice, my parents, they were chauffeurs, they were, cooks, preparing us for all these things. So that's why I said they sacrificed a lot. We didn't really go on family vacations. Our family vacation was going to a swim meet in Victoria, going to a swim meet in Winnipeg, or going to a swim meet in Calgary. We didn't go to like Mexico or Hawaii. Like any travel, there was a swim meet or a training camp involved in it. So that was our growing up phase for multiple years. And even when we switched swim clubs, I didn't move back to swimming in Richmond until after university. So I was in either in Vancouver or UBC into my early 20s before I moved back to Richmond when Richmond finally built a 50-meter pool.
And when did you realize it was getting serious, or when your parents realized that you were kind of in the league of competing in the Paralympics?
I've had the same vision impairment since I was a child, but because I wasn't fully blind, I only have 10% of my vision. There was a lot of unknown what level of vision I had because I just thought I had bad vision. I had to stand up in class to see the chalkboard. I couldn't see it from my desk. I watched TV closely. I know late night, my father one night saw an ad for the CNIB. The CNIB is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. Father brought me over there. They checked me out, and that's where we realized I had the visual impairments. From there, we found out about the Paralympic Games where there was visually impaired athletes. So all of that was discovered by the time I was age 17 is when I first found out about the Paralympic Games. Once we discovered it and then they compared my times that I was able to achieve in all the competitions with where the world champs, I was usually around top 3 to top 6 in most events. So that was where this is another thing that I have to focus or shift my attention to.
It sounds like your parents really steered your career. Did you ever have a swim coach that you remember that kind of took you all the way to the Paralympics, or was it mainly your parents steering the way?
I did have basically one coach that steered me through my entire Paralympic career. His name was Craig McCord. Obviously, my parents were there from day one, from all of it, but I had multiple coaches. Like especially when I was 13, I had a coach called Tony Ford. I wish I kind of swam now versus when I was swimming in the air I swam in. I know this might be not the best term, but I feel like we swam in like a meat grinder era, which is you just do a lot of mileage. And if your body can survive it, you rise to the top. Even to this day, I can't swim anymore. My shoulders still are not very happy with me. So I'm not saying I regret any of it. I love what I did, but I feel like nowadays the swimmers have so much more science, nutritional health aspects. I feel like there's so much more science backed in the swimming now than there was back when I was growing up.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, so basically, in a way, in essence, you're saying that back when you were competing, they really felt that in a way practice makes perfect, right? Like the more and more you practiced, the better you would be. But now actually it's more different techniques and different kinds of swimming practices that make you stronger, which not only includes repetition, but also things like diet and perhaps even things outside of the water.
For sure, yeah. And the funny thing is this is where I look back and this is where I feel like my parents were very westernized because both my parents were immigrants to Canada. I know, this stereotype Chinese are really good in school. School's number one. You got to get straight A's. And my parents really adopted, in my opinion, a more Western mentality. In my family, sports were more important. And we put a priority on swimming. And this is where a lot of things I take from my swimming that I've taken in my life, my whole career is swimming taught us punctuality. Swimming taught us time management, especially because we had to travel always from Richmond to Vancouver all the time. There was no wasted moment. We couldn't. There was no, oh, what are we going to do? Is like, I'm in the car. You got to do homework, or you got to sleep, or you got to eat. That's what you're doing in the car. When you get back home, grab dinner and do homework. There's no wasted time. My parents didn't have to worry about me watching too much television or anything because there was no time for any of that stuff. But my parents didn't like ignore school. Like I still had to, get good grades, but I wasn't like, oh, you didn't get 95%. You're a bad student. Ours was more like, let's get the swimming done, and then the school will come with it. Versus, I know because I've spoken to I've gone back to my old clubs after I retired and spoken. The other thing is, and it's funny, like a lot of people's like, oh, I can't make the swim meet because I got a fight, like I got a school test or a fight. Like it was different. School was always in my family number two versus number one kind of thing as a priority list.
Take me back to your very first Paralympic Games. Where were you? What were you thinking? How did it feel?
So my first Paralympic Games weren't the best experience, truthfully. They were in Barcelona in 92. I was really excited when I got selected to make the team. I was world ranked in all my events at the time. Interesting story. Well, now I can say it's interesting. At the time, it was quite depressing. So what happened is, obviously you get tested for all your visual impairments and what have you. And there's classifications for the Paralympic Games. So there's 3 levels of Paralympic, swimmers. There's, like they were called at the time B1, B2, B3. B1 would be athletes with 0 vision. Their testing is pretty straightforward. There was another category called B2, which was between 0 and 5%, and then I fell in the final category, which is between 5% and 10%. So when you say 10% vision, another way, like, people get their eye exams, everyone's heard of the term 20/20, which means you have perfect vision. So when you have 10% your vision, which is what I had, your vision is classified as 20/200. Easier way to explain the difference is if you're in a solitary parking lot, there's one car there. I would be 20 feet away, but your vision compared to my vision, I could see the vehicle at 20 feet, you can see the vehicle at 200 feet. So that's kind of like the different levels of vision. I don't remember a lot of it because honestly, I try not to remember a lot of it. But in a nutshell, they retested me again in Barcelona and they deemed me not blind enough. So I didn't end up competing at all in Barcelona. So I was there. I got to experience the games, but I actually did not compete in the games.
And after that disappointing experience of your first games, how did you decide to go back and compete again? And can you take us to your best experience when you won your first gold medal?
When I came back from Barcelona, not too soon afterwards. So my parents had a family travel agency business.
Oh, that's handy for all your
Yeah, that's
travel.
handy. Yep, it was handy. And sometimes I obviously, and like any family business, I pitched in whatever I could do to help out. What happened to my father? He had an accident, fell from a tree trying to prune it, and he was hospitalized for a little while. So basically, my swimming career at that point ended. I had to step up and help run the business with my mother and the other employees at the office. If you examine or look at my swimming career, in a way, it was a nice thing because it pulled me out of the pool. I didn't dwell on the swimming. I just concentrated on working on the family business. That went on for about, I would say, almost 18 months or so, like that. And then I got remotivated again. And my father also got better again, but I got remotivated to swim again because my sister in 1994 made the Commonwealth Games in Victoria. That was like, okay, maybe I can do this again. And I had a world championships in 94, which were in Malta. I won 5 gold medals at those games. So that was my first true international experience of winning a medal. I remember like my first event, 200 individual medley, winning the first medal. And the first time, like standing on a podium, hearing the national anthem, is one of the greatest feelings I can't really explain or describe. I know a lot of people have watched, Canadian medalists and watched the national anthem, but there's just something different when you're on that podium. It's just you get really emotional and you go like, look, all this work was well worth the sacrifices because this was the peak. This was the Mount Everest. This is the moment. All those sacrifices, all those hours at the pool, all those missed, if you want to say fun opportunities, this was the reason why you did it.
When you hear the Canadian national anthem, does it make you feel more patriotic, or what's that mix of feelings?
It's just proud to be Canadian. Yeah, absolutely patriotic. I am Canadian. I love being Canadian. There's a tradition with swimmers. All of us get a maple leaf tattoo on our left pec.
I didn't know that. You still have that?
I still have it. I also have the Olympic rings tattooed underneath there. Girls usually got it on their hip because of like the ceremony at the Chinese Canadian Museum and then my induction into the BC Sports Hall of Fame. A lot of people at work's like, Walter, you never told me you're a swimmer and like you're so good. I'm like, how do you expect me to drop this in a conversation? This doesn't like flow in any type of conversation. Oh, by the way, I used to swim for Canada. I won a bunch of medals. I don't feel like you can just drop that, right?
It sounds like you're very humble. There are ways to drop it. Like, for example, oh, my medals are getting rusty. I better go. Can I leave work early to get them polished?
I'm proud of what I do, but I don't like bragging about it. But my friends have no problem bragging for me. And I remember a lot of my friends like, Walter, I need to borrow your rings. Like, why? I'm gonna pick up chicks at the bar. Like, okay. I'm like, okay, you guys can go for it. That's not what I'm gonna do. But like,
But at
but
least they're asking to borrow your ring. They're not asking to borrow your Olympic medal to
yes,
the
exactly. They only
bar.
has to borrow the rings. Exactly. The first couple of games I went to, my parents were never able to attend because again, the family business. I told them, you guys can come, let the employees, like, typical Chinese, no, no, I have to run it, I have to be in charge, all that stuff. So finally, at the 2000 games, mom decided to come because in the Atlanta games, which were my first Paralympic games, at those games I won 5 gold medals and 1 bronze medal. The bronze medal I won was an event that I'm not very good at. In my opinion, on the races that I cared about, I felt like, I was undefeated.
What is your favorite race?
I tell people when it comes to my Paralympic games, I have 3 favorite races in my memories. So in the Atlanta Games, 100 butterfly is my favorite race because it's my first ever Paralympic gold medal. Like I remember I mentioned I won medals at the World Championships in '94, but World Championships were not the same as Paralympic Games, right? It's not quite the same thing.
Of course.
And then the 2000 games, I know it sounds bad, but I came in silver. I got second, but in my opinion, I got defeated, right? So
And that was in Sydney, correct?
that was in Sydney. That's correct. So first race ever that I got defeated in one of my best races. So my coach was there with me. My mom was there. Basically, everyone's like, "Okay, it's done. You did a best time. You did your personal best, but it wasn't good enough. Whatever. We got to reset. You got another race in 2 days. You got to focus on that one, not dwell on this one." Took it in. Had my moment or whatever. Feeling sorry for myself and then got redirected focus onto the next race, which again happened to be the 100 butterfly. Did a personal best, set a world record at the time in that race. But what made that race extra special, it was also my mom's birthday.
Oh, wow.
And then the final race, and in a way, my favorite medal is because in the 2004 games, mom and dad were both able to come. So, because I told my dad, this is my last one. I'm not going to anymore. I am done after this competition.
And that was Athens, correct?
That was Athens. That's correct. The lead up to Athens, it was a tough year. So, in 2003, we had World Championships in Canada. So, they had FIFA World Cups here. You want to be able to compete in your home country. And unfortunately, in the year of 2003, I ended up getting 3 concussions in about a 5-week span. One was dry line training. I fell off of a Swiss ball. My head banged into the concrete of the pool deck. Another time was just a head-on-head collision with another swimmer. Third time was a backstroke start. I went too deep and hit the bottom of the pool kind of thing. And the thing that sucks about a concussion, and any athlete that's had one will tell you, there's no rehab. There's no medicine. It's just strictly a time thing. You have to let it rest. And eventually went to a couple of specialists and they basically told me your season's done. You can't train anymore. You're going to miss world championships. Like if you want to be able to recover, you have to give it all up. So I was shut down for about the rest of the year, which meant I was out of the water for about 8 months. So 2004, I still had the lingering effects. It wasn't as bad as 2003, but I wasn't completely around because I don't think you're ever going to be fully healed up from a concussion issue.
Would you say some of these accidents were in any way related to impaired vision?
I think these were straight accidents. I don't think any of it was like truly vision related. I think they would have happened no matter what kind of thing.
It's just amazing to me what athletes put themselves through, even when they know that they're not at their immediate best, in terms of still pushing through because of their injury. Like that kind of physical endurance is kind of incredible, really, to think about and to really continue trying to compete at the highest level.
I know it's not the same sport, but I understand, like, when you hear hockey players, when the playoffs are done, they're telling you, I played for torn this, broken this, and it's all hidden until everything's revealed. And I totally understand it because you don't know if you're going to get here again. This is my last chance. I remember because I told my coach, I didn't tell my mom and dad this, but I told my coach in Athens because the 400 free was going to be my best chance at winning a gold medal at those games. The longer the race was usually where like my concussion symptoms would show up. And so I told him, look, this is going to be my second last race of my career. I had one more race after this. I'm not going to miss this race. I'm not going to hold back on this race. And I told him, either to carry out on a stretcher or carry me on a stretcher. Whatever goes, happens, happens. But I don't want to miss this moment. I didn't want my parents to know this because I don't think they would even let me race if they had known what the condition was. Unfortunately, I did win the race. I did not feel the best after it, but I didn't have to carry it on a stretcher, but I didn't feel the best after that. And to see my mom and dad and win it, that is my best race because how much it meant to me. But also going back to Sydney, what also made that race special, the Aussies are crazy about amateur sports. There was 18,000 people at the stadium watching us swim. I've never raced before that many people and probably never again.
Also, in particular, the Aussies are crazy about swim, right?
Exactly, exactly. So anyone that visits the old Olympic pool, they have all the medalists on plaques. Their names are on plaques by the Olympic pool. And again, going back to my work, I had some of my customers come back to Walter. They're going, "Is this you? I saw this name on the pool." And like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yes, that is me." Right. So to swim in front of 18,000 people, like now I get what athletes say when they compete, Rogers Arena, BC Place or whatever, when there's that many people cheering, it is loud, it is unbelievable. And money can't buy that feeling. Like my nephews kind of like brag about me more than I do, but it's kind of like how many people can honestly say, I am the best in the world at something? Doesn't matter what it is, school, cooking, sports, whatever. Nobody was better than I was. And that is a cool feeling. And on top of it, like I said, I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian Chinese doing this. All of that just, extra cherry on top of it, right?
I wanted to ask also, how important do you think representation is in sport for people with disabilities?
I think there are stigmas put up in front of us because of whatever your disability may be. And a lot of people think, oh, you can't accomplish this, you can't do this. I mean, at our level, we prove all these people wrong. But what I think that needs to change more is not necessarily the young child that's growing up with a disability. It's you need to re-educate the parents. I'm almost positive every child with disability wants to try everything. It's trying to convince the parents to let them know, you know what? Your child may hurt themselves trying this. They may get a scratch, they might cut, they might even break a bone. Who knows? But you need to let them try because especially sports, you get into your 30s, your career is almost over. You can't go back in times like, "Oh, now I allow you to do it." At the end of my career in the national team, I was obviously one of the older ones, and I still remember there's a girl, she was only 13. I just told her like, "Hey, you have so much to look forward to. You're 13, you're not the best right now, but you never know." Like, I also remember talking to her mom about the same thing. Just let her do it. Let her try, and we made multiple games. She ended up being a fantastic swimmer, like multiple world record. Her name was Stephanie Dixon. We chatted about maybe a year and a half ago, and she called me up out of the blue because I hadn't seen her in decades. And she told me that those conversations I talked to her about when she was 13 years old meant so much to her. And I wasn't trying to be a role model, but you never know what you say could become a role model for someone.
I think that's very insightful. And I think so much that you've achieved has made you into a role model, even in the way that you carry yourself. And I think that really makes a difference for young people. I wonder also for you, did you have role models growing up in swimming?
I would say my turning point and where I said I want to do this again, going back to when I was 12, the 1984 Olympic Games were in Los Angeles. I only met him once, but his name was Victor Davis. He was a swimmer. He was the world record holder in the 200-meter breaststroke. And at those games, he won a gold, a silver, and a bronze. And I remember vividly, and this is where it really inspired me. So his first race was the 100 breaststroke, and he won the silver medal.
He's Canadian as well.
He's Canadian as well. And I remember going, wow, he got silver medal. And then, they show the close up of him after the race, like all the medalists, and he's pissed off. He's like punching he is one of the angriest person I've ever seen. I'm going, the dude just came second, and he is so mad. And just watching, wow, second place is not good enough. Like, you gotta be first. And I want to be him. Like, I want that attitude. I want that mentality that second is not good enough. He was my sporting idol growing up. But yes, my sister pushed me, and honestly, parents were there from day one. I never had to worry about, oh, can we afford to go to this training camp? Can we go afford this meet? Can we go away to nationals that were all the way in Toronto? My parents we will make it work. Whatever we have to do, we will make it work. And I'm just glad the last 10 years of my career, I was good enough that I didn't have to be any more financial burden on my parents to make the team. I always think those medals, they weren't just for me, they were for mom and dad. This moment is also your moment. And the thing is, they didn't push us. And there's a funny story. And this is before my sister could drive. So my parents were still driving us because my sister wasn't old enough to drive yet. And I remember my sister was like, okay, we're not going to practice. Like, it was a morning practice. Dad dropped us off, and then we usually take the bus home, okay, because you can't bus there that early in the morning.
Right.
And I remember us like, okay, let's just skip practice. Let's go downtown. Let's just blow off steam. I don't want to do practice. And she agreed with me. I don't know how he knew it. To this day, I still don't know how he do it. We walked to the bus stop, and Dad was waiting there for us. And I don't know, my sister and I still don't know how he knew we weren't going to go to practice that day. He didn't say anything. He didn't make us go to the pool. He just said, what do you guys want to do? And we just had a day out with him.
It's kind of the parental radar, I think.
But we had a fun day, and then the next day we were motivated to go back to practice again, right? He was just like, he even knew we needed a break. How he knew we needed a break, I don't know.
I think in many ways, going back to what we talked about earlier, they weren't quintessential parents in that they prioritized homework and school over sport, but in the way they were quintessential Chinese parents in the way that they sacrificed everything for you and your sister in terms of making sure that you had everything you needed to succeed. That's very Chinese immigrant parents. Looking back, if you could speak to your younger self before your first major competition, what would you tell him today?
There's always going to be ups and downs. You're not going to win every race. You're not going to always feel good. You're not going to want to wake up early. Who wants to wake up at 4:30 on purpose, right? But all these sacrifices, they're going to give you a emotional proudness that you cannot put a dollar amount on. I used to get nervous before every race. Didn't matter what level of competition, my local one, national, international. Butterflies in my stomachs, dry heaving, like not actually throwing up, but like almost throwing up kind of thing. And I remember telling my coach, why am I feeling this at my local meet in Richmond, BC? Like, why do I get it? I'm at world championship, nationals. I should feel this way, but why am I feeling it this one? And what he told me was this: the day you stop feeling that is the day you retire. I never stop feeling that feeling. I never get that feeling from doing anything else. No exam, no deadline at work. Nothing gave me that feeling until, 2 minutes before you're behind the block. So I would tell my younger self, when you get that feeling, it's normal. And same thing, like what my coach told me, I would tell him the same thing. You know when it's time to hang it up if you don't feel that way anymore. Don't worry about the sacrifices, because I remember I didn't go to a school dance. I missed my school graduation. I missed my 10-year high school anniversary because of swimming. And do I miss those moments? Who knows? I never did one, so I don't know if I miss it or not. But I know if you reverse the situation, I don't think anyone that went to high school reunion would rather be at high school reunion versus competing in the 2000 Sydney Games, right?
Of course.
Did I have the best childhood? I think I had a great childhood. I mean, I didn't do a lot of child things because I was almost in a way, I would call it almost like being a professional athlete, but as a child and not getting paid for it. But you're doing same type of training and all that. But I think all of those sacrifices were worth it because Going back to standing on the podium, hearing the national anthem, you're on the top step, and you hear the announcer say, Paralympic gold medalist, world record champion, your name, Canada, right?
And the anthem.
And then the anthem. You can't beat it, right? I mean, the pictures and all that stuff, whatever, those are great as well. But to me, it's that anthem. I never understood why athletes cry. You just won. Why are you crying? I get it. Can't tell you why, but I get why you cry when you're winning, when you're losing. I get it. Honestly, I wish everyone could experience that feeling, right? And it's so hard to even put the words on it. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever feel that way ever again. I'll never get the opportunity to, but I got to feel it multiple times, which I'm proud of.
You got to experience it over for at least 14 times, which is pretty incredible. And I think we are really happy to have had that experience through you, Walter. We're so proud of you as Canadians and as Chinese Canadians. Thank you so much for being on our show. For anyone wanting to learn more about Walter and other trailblazing Chinese Canadian athletes, come see our show. Momentum, Power, and Identity in Sports is on view until September 5th, 2027 in Vancouver, Chinatown at the Chinese Canadian Museum. Thanks so much, Walter.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
This podcast was recorded on the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. We invite you all to reflect on the territories that you're on and the host nations and pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. To learn more about the Chinese Canadian Museum and book tickets, visit us at www.chinesecanadianmuseum.ca and follow us on Instagram at ccmuseumbc for updates. The Schoolroom is presented by the Chinese Canadian Museum, hosted by Dr. Melissa Carmen Lee and produced by Rosalie Gunawan. Production is supported by Noah Taylor. The theme music and original audio was created by Joshua Young, and graphic design is by Studio Pian Pian He and Max Harvey. Stay tuned for the next episode of The Schoolroom, available wherever you get your podcasts.